Blake is my son. Happy, kind of red hair.
We grew up really close. We're really close in age.
Our friendship was pretty tight.
We started hanging out, mutual friends, and then we just got closer from then on.
I mean, you just had to know him.
I don't know where you want me to go with this, with Blake, of telling you how much I miss the guy.
About Blake. He was a crazy little kid. He started giving me trouble when he was in my belly. Very calm, but just not eager to come out to this world. So I was bedridden, cesarean, came out, doctors on top of the table trying to pull him out because he didn't want to come out to this world. So then he came out to this world and was just this chubby, round-faced little boy.
Every time I came over, he would ask, "So what are you cooking, Auntie?" He liked my enchiladas, but he would eat whatever I made, whatever I made.
My relationship with my brother, we grew up really close. We're really close in age. I was older. He was a little bit younger than me. We grew up a year apart in school. We fought like cats and dogs because we were siblings growing up, boy and girl.
Loved to play. Horse played around a lot.
We used to sleep in each other's beds when we were little because we were scared.
Everybody used to want to hang with Granddad. I lived on a boat. I mean, come on, everybody wanted to hang out with me. And I'd go and pick them all up. Sometimes I'd pick up a few of them. And we'd all get together, and the cousins got to visit with each other. They would spend the nights with me. And so when Blake had that first opportunity to go, one of the things is you had to be potty trained. Blake gets in there and says he has to go to the bathroom. I said, "Okay, go, let's go to the bathroom." You know, he sits in the pot, and he says, "Okay, I'm ready." I said, "Ready for what?" He said, "You wipe me."
I was doing some work here, and he was out shooting the BB gun, and all I heard was him screaming my name, "Brad, Brad! He's gonna eat me! He's gonna eat me!" And I was, in flip-flops or something, and this was just all a field. And I saw a dog, big dog, running after him, and Blake was running, and the dog was getting closer to him, and he's screaming at me, saying that the dog's going to eat him. And I see him throw the BB gun. It just went into the irrigation canal. I'm running this way to try and intercept the dog. And as I get closer, I notice the dog is wagging his tail. And he's just running out to see Blake to say, "Hey, buddy." And Blake is so scared and saying that the dog is going to eat him.
As a young man, he had ideas of things he wanted to do. He did golfing and did good at it, all real well, and seemed to enjoy that. And as he was starting to grow up, he always had a conscience of thought. He had decisions he wanted to make.
Definitely seemed like an old soul. He had definitely had his own set of mind. Like, he wanted to wear his clothes just perfect, buttoned up everything, belts, everything had to be just perfect for him. So that's the start of his life. And as he grew older, he had to be perfect at sports. He had to always win, hated to lose. So then we had to teach him how to control the temper if he lost to be a good sport.
Man, Blake was real. Blake, you can't buy off Blake. If Blake didn't like something, that was it. You couldn't say, "Hey, I'll give you $100 if you do it," or whatever it is. We bribe kids with money. He was the only kid that I had that would be like, "No, I don't want to owe you anything. He was tough as nails in that way.
He liked everybody, so he was in every group of kids, skater, cowboy. He was just he was everything. He wasn't just one clique. He seemed to know pretty much everybody in Oakdale, now that I find out later. Always happy, smiling.
He came running in and jumped right in between me and my brother, like a big kid, you know, just kind of cuddled and started talking about coffee, and then jumped up and made us chai tea latte, and was all happy and came and brought it to us and just kind of cuddled with us in the bed and talked. That was Blake. He was a big kid at heart. It didn't matter. Then my sister gave him a vitamin. He broke out in a rash because she told him, "Oh, you need to take this," and it was, I don't even remember what kind of vitamin, but he broke out in a rash and he was all mad. "I'm never gonna take anything from you again." And he was over there, had to come home because they went to go get tacos or something at a taco truck, and he came back and he was all red all over, like a big old red tomato.
I was always lecturing him about being a good man and growing up to be a good man and a good person to women, and so I found out later that he would preach everything I preached to him, to everyone else.
So the very first day I met Blake was actually, it was kind of one of those instances where Blake was a hero in a sense, and it would have been my freshman year, would have been Blake's sophomore year, and I was not a nice kid. I was kind of more of a bully, asshole type, but there was a girl in particular that I was kind of, I guess you'd say, trying to hit on. And she had a boyfriend, and her boyfriend was one of Blake's friends. So I had told, I was being an asshole to this boyfriend, and Blake, being the friend that he is, stood up for his friend, and, me and him kind of got into an altercation, and that's how Blake and I met. Now, Blake and I kind of formed our relationship is shortly after that, my sophomore year of high school. So when we first met, it was my freshman year, his sophomore year. My sophomore year of high school would have been his junior year. I was in military school, and just kind of dealt with a lot of stuff in my own life, a lot of realizations. When I came back from military school, Blake was hanging out with my friends, the Corbetts, Michael Corbett, Matthew Corbett, Michael Gall, and it was kind of a crowd that I was with. So when Blake was there, I went out of my way to actually apologize to Blake and tell him how much I respected him for what he had done, and kind of how much of a asshole I was to act like that. And that's how our relationship formed so strongly.
We all bonded together pretty quick. He was close with my family, I was close with his family. And so he was definitely more than just a friend. We hung out a lot with our group of people, and there's times where our friendship was where I was almost like his mom sometimes. He'd do something dumb and I'll lecture him on him, and he'd tell me, "Stop talking to me like I'm like you're my mom," because his mom would do it all the time. She'll do it to us too now.
He was a loyal friend. He took everybody in as you were his family. If you were one of him, if he accepted you, you were in. You were his family. He totally loved you. And it shows through his friends.
He had friends from all walks of life. Definitely. I don't know, he had like his main group, I would say, but everybody knew him. Everybody was friends with him. I can't recall him ever having like an enemy.
He was just kind. Like, he loved people, and he loved anybody and everybody, no matter like where they were from or what they did. He just loved everybody. He was way more generous than I am, or was. He gave everybody 1,000,000 chances, 1,000,001. And I could probably learn a lot from that.
He was my brother, stepbrother, since I was not even 2 years old. We were 6 months apart. So he was like, a built-in best friend, dude. We hung out constantly. You know, I'm sure they've talked about it, but my other two siblings, Trent and Lauren, were definitely together while Blake and I were out doing our own thing all the time. So he was he was my built-in best friend. Yeah, that's the way I describe it.
I remember he was, you know, a little closer with my older brother Austin, and I was always jealous of that. I mean, I was younger, so, you know, there's the gap there. So they were always, you know, coming up with plans or doing things together, and I would try to meddle in and try to get in there somehow. Sometimes they let me in, other times they'd kick my ass to the curb. So Blake was scared of the dark as a kid, so I don't know if this was the reason or not, but the man hated going to the movie theaters. He despised it. I had never met a kid or anybody actually that didn't enjoy going to the movies, but yeah, Blake would always take a hard pass.
He didn't like going to the fucking movie theater as a kid, which is the craziest thing to me because it's like popcorn and candy, you know? Learning to deal with the way he was, and then, you know, just living with him was really cool because once he let you in, he was into like his space. He was definitely one of like the most sincere and earnest people I've ever met.
He had a really big heart, and he wasn't a very big man, but he was very big inside, you know. His heart and just how strong-willed he was, and he's very persistent and stubborn. But it's just, yeah, I think it was the heart, you know. He had a lot of heart and made you gravitate towards him a lot. You know, you showed him respect and he's gonna give it right back to you. It doesn't matter where you are or who you are. But yeah, he always showed that respect and that heart that I was telling you about earlier.
His smile and just making people laugh, like everyone just loved him, especially the women, without even trying. Respectful, helpful. He was always helping somebody, whether they asked for it or not. I remember I was supposed to go pick up a TV that I had bought and waited till the last minute, and one day he just pulled up to my house with it. He went and picked it up for me. Always helping.
He's one of those people that he was like a giver. Like, he just really cared. He was so genuine. I mean, like, he's someone you could always count on. He would always be there for you, no matter what, like no questions asked. I was in a car accident and he took me back like, I don't know, a year or two later just to overcome my fear with like never go on that road again. So he was like, you have to go. That was like really neat because I didn't want to go at all. I was so scared.
The way he could put words together, he was a good talker in a way. In the way he could, one of the things he could pull scripts out of the Bible and like match it with something and like what's going on, and just the way he could quote things was really good. And it was pretty inspiring at times.
I was living out on my own, kind of couch hopping a lot. And Blake's house was one of the houses that I had couch top at, and you know, his mother was kind of like, well, who's this kid that, you know, is in the garage? I don't know who he is. Blake had kind of explained the situation to his mother, and shortly after that, I kind of got accepted into their family, got accepted into their home, and got adopted into their family. Well, the relationship that I have with all of our friends has grown to a brotherhood, and unfortunately, the relationship that I have with his family is so strong, and I have now known his family longer than I've known him. But if he were still here, I would be family.
We always had each other, so anytime something went wrong, we were kind of always on the same team. And that's probably the most part I miss about him.
It's a smaller town inside of the county where it travels fast. And we start processing the crime scene, trying to identify who the suspect is. They knew that it was a homicide investigation at that point. Investigation revealed that there was some sort of altercation at a party earlier.
There was a lot of people that started leaving the scene, and what ended up happening is a lot of people, since they were leaving, there was some gunshots that were heard. And as people were leaving to their vehicles, our victim, Blake Berry, was walking to his vehicle and was struck by a vehicle. The vehicle fled the scene, and he was transported to the hospital. Subsequently, he passed away from his injuries.
We were talking to Blake's friends that were still on scene, and then ones that were at the hospital getting treated. So processing the crime scene was our biggest hurdle at that point at the night that this happened.
My kids told me. I think that was one of the hardest things they've ever had to do. They called me. We were staying in San Francisco, and we were in different rooms. My two oldest daughters called, and they couldn't tell me. They couldn't say it. They just told me to look on Facebook. And if I had heard from Auntie. And I had said, no, what's going on? And my daughter just said, look on Facebook, Mama, and hung up.
I had just gotten back into Chico. And I was actually awake. It was about 4 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I was watching TV on my laptop, and I get a call from my aunt. And I immediately thought something was wrong with my mom. I know my mom had been having health issues, so I immediately thought something's wrong with my mom. So I called my first aunt back, and I said, hey, what's up? And she immediately said, what's wrong with Blake? And I was very thrown off. I had no idea what she was talking about. I said, what do you mean? And she said, on Facebook. On Facebook, everyone's posting R.I.P., R.I.P.
I got a phone call at it's probably about 2 or 3 in the morning. It was from our buddy Daryl, and he said that Blake was dead. And I was like, no, wait a minute. Where's he at? Where is he? Where is he at? Trying to figure everything out. Throughout all this time, everybody was trying to call Juanita and Brett, and they were in Bodega Bay. So I got every phone call, from his cousin to his aunt to friends to everybody. And it was just disbelief. There was a group of us that had all been hanging out the night before, so we all woke up to the news, which I guess was better because we were all together. But we were just trying to scrape up the pieces, trying to figure out what happened.
I think the group of friends that Blake had made us all stronger together. If you go through suffering with a group of people, it makes the bond stronger. And so I think that's what happened with us, with our group of friends. We became stronger.
I was calling my parents nonstop. Nobody was answering their phone. So I got in the car and I was like, I'm driving home. And so I got in the car, I started driving home, continuously calling everyone I could think of. His friends, none of his friends were with him, so they couldn't give me any information. I kept driving, and I was in constant communication with my aunt and my granddad. And about halfway home, right before I was supposed to turn off to go towards Sonoma County and Bodega Bay, where my parents were staying, it dawned on me that my parents didn't know. So I asked my family to stop calling them, so that way I can drive there and tell them in person, because I don't think anyone should have to get that phone call.
I got my phone and I had 60-some missed calls. And I just kind of went through to see if I can find who they were from, missed calls from, and I didn't find Blake. And so I kind of knew already, I think. So then the phone rang and I answered, and it was my sister, and I gave it to my husband, and I just fell to the ground. I just knew already that it was bad.
Yeah, I had to drive there, and they were really worried that I was driving. But I don't know, I just went into a mode, and I just knew I needed to get home. And so I was like, I'm getting home. I need to get to my parents. I need to do this. And so I went into, I don't know, we'd call it fight or flight mode. And I just fought to get there, and I got there, and they were a wreck, an absolute wreck. And I just kept saying, we don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. Let's just go home. Let's go home. And so my dad gets to drive because he didn't want me driving. And they got like a minute down the road, and they couldn't drive at all. So I said, it's okay, get out of the car. I will drive us home. And I had to drive us all the way from Bodega Bay back to Oakdale. It was a long drive for me that day. I drove from Chico to Bodega Bay to Oakdale. And by the time we got home, our house was filled with people.
I mean, I don't remember seeing anybody, but there was a ton of people there just ready just to be there for us. And once I saw my dad and my sister, Veronica, I think I just lost it.
I wasn't living with either of my parents at the time. I was actually on vacation in Hawaii, and there's a 4-hour time difference, so it's very early in the morning for me, and I get a phone call with cries and wailing of my mother and father, and my older brother's name being said on repeat, and it just did not register for, I don't know, at least 20 minutes, and then I have to come up with flight plans and things like that. It's just, being that far away, it felt like I was the last person to know.
I just didn't know how to take it, you know. I fucking called Blake like 100 times just to fucking hope that fucking some other fucking guy died, you know. And no, it was him. It was him. And then I fucking had to work that day, and I just remember like the first person that came in. I was working at a store at the time, and I was holding it together fine. And then as soon as I don't know what the fuck happened, I just started crying. And then I just realized I can't work. I can't do this right now.
My life just changed altogether. I don't know happy the way I knew happy before Blake. I keep trying to live life for him in his honor. But I don't know how to be happy anymore. Part of me is missing. It's hard to breathe every day, knowing he's not here. Knowing I'm never gonna get a, hey mom, what are you doing? I talked to him on the phone probably every other day, you know, and he would just call and ask how I was. I don't get those anymore. It's really, really difficult. I have my family and my daughter and, you know, other friends and everybody here that love me, and they help me keep going, but it's not the same having him gone because I'm just half here.
It has changed our family from, you know, happy-go-lucky people to my wife cries almost every morning.
I know I have my mom. I know I have my brothers, but like him being gone and not being that person for me really makes me feel lonely.
When he loved big. He loved with his whole heart. Got his heart broken a few times, but he loved with his whole heart.
It's crazy to think that I think that if he were here today, he just had his 28th birthday. I'm sure he would have 2 or 3 children by now.
He would probably settle down. He's a family man. As soon as he gets a good girl, he settles down.
Wanted to marry, wanted to have kids with, everything. And that's what his entire motivation was about. It subsided everything, all of his friends, everything for this girl and this family that he wanted.
I think he'd probably have 2 babies by now, for sure. He wanted a family. He probably would have been the best dad in the world, and a good husband. Because of his logic, and the way he thinks, this is a family, you're my wife, and these are my children, and I'm the dad. And he would have taken that responsibility serious. He was a good kid. He was a really good kid.
That is the crappiest part, selfish part on my end, in that I don't get to see what he was to become. You know what I mean? That's the worst part. Just the fact that he had so many skills. That kid could have been a professional golfer. He could have done so many things, and to be able to watch that, I have 2 other sons that I didn't really get to raise, so I didn't get to see them. I saw Blake all the time, and to be able to miss out and seeing where he would be is crushing to me. Like I said, it seems selfish because it's like something I didn't get to see, but that's how I feel,
It is classified a cold case, but just because it is a cold case does not mean it's not being investigated. And that's one of the things I always try to stress to families, that just because it becomes a cold case, it just means we exhausted all leads. But that doesn't mean that by individuals coming forward, whether it's anonymous or through Crime Stoppers, that could potentially open the case again. So in this particular case, to answer your question, what we need, or what I need, is people. I do need eyewitnesses to come forward and come forward to tell me or tell some of the other investigators what happened, what did they see, to make this case move forward.
Blake's case is a cold case. We do have a person of interest. He happens to be in custody right now for another unrelated murder charge. And we can't go forward yet with our case until we get all the information we need, and that's one more person coming clean and letting us know what they know. And we know it's out there. So our goal is to reach this person and to let them know how important it is to stop this person from doing it to somebody else. He's taken a life once already, potentially, that we know of. And he's taken my son's life. Who's to say it's not going to be your son's life? Or your daughter? Your mother? Who knows? If he's already killed once and twice, who's to say he's not going to do it a 3rd time? If it hasn't happened already. So my goal is to have someone help me bring him to justice and pay for taking my son's life.
I think now that time has passed, there's a good chance that someone can search their soul and find that they may have some information that's helpful. In the early stage of the case, I just knew that the suspect vehicle was a gray Nissan. I couldn't piece together exactly who was driving it or who it belonged to, and it was a tip, an anonymous tip we got, and I was able to track down that car within an hour of getting that tip. It's coming up on 8 years since this happened, and even though I'm not actively involved in the investigation, I still want to see this solved. I want to see Blake's family have closure, as well as his friends, and I want to see the person responsible for this be held accountable. So even though it's been 8 years, people that were there need to reach out and talk to the investigators or Crime Stoppers, anyone that's tied to the investigation of this case, to help and make sure that we have all the pieces of this puzzle. And maybe that little piece that they have is that final piece that they need to finally close this case. Sometimes when I talk to people, they're like, oh, I don't know if this is important, but that little tiny piece matched exactly what we needed, and it helped solve several cases and multiple times in my time in investigations with the Sheriff's Department.
It's been 8 years, and there's been no answers. There's been no justice served. There's been no official charges brought up. There's been no anything that would help my mom out, because, you know, I lost my brother. I'm obviously still dealing with it. I'm not a wounded mother over this, though. Like, I lost my brother, that sucks. But she lost her kid, and there's no one helping her out. And just, man, Blake deserved more than that. Like, fuck, he wasn't a bad kid at all. I mean, like, he's 20 years old, but bad kid now. So just, man, if you have anything, just for the love of God, help out, please.
I'm glad I still can, see pictures of him and think about him every day. And I'm glad that this is happening so he can still be brought up in the conversation. I think he doesn't die, obviously until his name's gone. So this is a good way of making it everlasting. I think that's important. And I would only hope that if something like this happened to anyone, they'd get this much support.
Come on forward. Clear your conscience. You saw something, come and tell us what you saw. Help justice be made. Blake did not need to be killed. This person did something really evil, and he should be accountable for it. And if you're helping him and you're on his side, well, then you're part of evil. There was no reason for him to kill my grandson. He didn't even know him. Why kill him? Kill some innocent person. I would ask them to please stand up, be brave, not afraid.
My life is completely turned upside down. It's hard to enjoy life, but I do, because every time I know when I smile and I laugh, I'm bringing Blake into my life. Blake is here with me, and I'm expressing him when I laugh and smile.
I'll tell you a quick story. I've always been against tattoos. Strongly. Blake started getting tattoos, and I was giving him shit for it, and after he passed away, first thing I did is when I got a tattoo, it's on my back. It has Blake Berry on it.
Talking to his girlfriend at the time, he pushed her out of the way of the vehicle that was coming, driving at him, and eventually struck him. So he, from what I gathered, saved her life that night.
I think after I got hit, I just went into shock. And I was just I didn't even know what was happening. It was totally like a main character movie moment where the whole world just stops and stuff was still happening, but my whole life was just still for a second. He would literally save a snail crossing the road if he could, given the opportunity. It's just completely in his character, and I realized that what Blake did, he didn't even think twice about. That's literally just who he is as a person, and he didn't even think about it. It's just a natural reaction for him. I mean, it could have been anyone. Like I said, it could have been an insect or a snail or a cat or a dog, or it's just literally who he is. Him giving me that opportunity, to still be here living and everything. But I guess I have the self-awareness, so all I can do is, try to better that every day moving forward.
Knowing that he did that and saw that she was going to get hit by a car and him not thinking twice and to save her life doesn't surprise me for Blake. That's who he was. It hurts because he's gone. But now, today, I can embrace the fact that he was a little hero. He was my little hero, my little man.